sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenixes that you are. Guest joining us. And then tomorrow we have a highlighted guest as well, an individual named Michael Faber, who is the founder of a company. Unleash You is the name of it. He's got a couple of different books out. He's got a community online. He does events, masterminds, all sorts of different things. Has a very, very cool approach to what he does. And I'm excited to have him on. I met him at Steve Sims Speakeasy as well. I actually met him online just before that, but I got a chance to meet him in person there. So going to have him on tomorrow. Make sure you are here for that call. Now, yesterday, this is kind of what we talked a little bit about, and I believe I gave you guys access to this. I will give it to you again in the Skype group later on. But we talked about the attractive character, and we talked about the identity that you have. We talked about the backstories, the different storylines that you can use. So I highlighted some of these things: the leader, adventurer, crusader, reporter, reluctant hero, that kind of thing, right? So looking at these, we covered some of this. If you missed yesterday's call, go back and watch. I think a lot of you, we have these four main archetypes, characters of how you can position yourself. My feeling is that many of us fall under this adventurer, crusader, or the evangelist, reporter. There's a handful of you that can already kind of say, hey, I'm in the leader position. And if you feel like that, that's great. You just kind of have to have a little bit to back that up. But if you feel like that adventurer, crusader, or the evangelist, reporter works, awesome. Do we have any questions on these elements? Some of you, I think there may be a couple people that weren't on yesterday. So if you missed it, I'd say go back and watch, because it's about a 30-minute call. But for those of you guys that were on, any questions on these? No? We're all good. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys access to a little bit of training that I've got, a document that talks a little bit more about vision and mission. Now, before I dive into this real quick, guys, I want to be real clear, especially for some of you guys that are a little bit newer. At times I share information on here that goes deeper than is necessary to launch. Like, you don't have to have all this stuff figured out to get yourself up and going. I want to be real clear there. Do not use this. This is marketing education, right? This is something you would learn in business classes, something you would learn in marketing courses. And I truly feel it can be helpful. Do not use this as a distraction, like you spend days and days trying to figure out your mission and vision, if it keeps you away from launching your stuff. Okay? Can everybody agree with me on this? I will not waste time. I will not procrastinate. This is great. I will use it later, but I will not let this get in the way of me getting my business going. Okay. So now I can share it. All right. So what are your company's vision and mission? Do you know the difference? So we're going to talk a little bit about the difference, because there is one. Everybody been in a job somewhere, some kind of corporate job, where they said, our mission is to blah, blah, blah. And here's the mission, here's the vision, right? They never really explained what it meant. They never explained what it was. They may have had a poster up on the wall. I remember one company that I worked with when I was younger, where it said something like, good enough is never good enough. It's like, well, that's a great platitude. What the hell do you mean by that? What am I supposed to do? Right? So what differentiates you from your competitor? What are your customers looking for in terms of value when deciding to buy a product or service like yours? So we've got these three main products. Some of you guys are adding in additional services: coaching, consulting, website design. Some of you are using this as lead generation for an existing business. How does that tie together? How does it stay close to the message? Like, if you're a real estate investor, you're going after realtors, or you're going after mortgage. To me, it makes a lot of sense. This turns into lead generation, but what are those leads getting? Well, I'm teaching them how to market. Well, why do they need to know how to market? Because they don't get it, and they need more customers. And if I can help them get more customers and build a relationship, then it's going to end up benefiting me. Well, how do I tie my mission and vision into that, right? So then again, this goes to what Blake has talked about, what I've talked about, what Henry Sims talked about, so many people. What is your customer looking for? Are you listening to your audience? And what is going to help them be satisfied with the experience of working with you and your brand, right? So, mission statement. I'm going to give you guys these slides. so you don't have to write them all down. But according to the dictionary, it is a formal summary of the aims and values of a company, organization, or individual. Super formal. It's really the product or service you deliver, the audience you deliver to, and the problem it solves. The product or service you deliver, the audience you deliver it to, and the problem it solves. So without trying to explain to me a full mission statement or say it, product or service, right? So what are we doing? These three things: product, service, audience you deliver it to, the problem it solves. So the easiest way to kind of break this down, the product or service we deliver. Now, yes, you have a blueprint, you have an order bump, you have a masterclass, DFY plus. The product and service is important, guys. In my mind, when it comes to marketing, the problem it solves is always more important. What you do for them is always going to be more beneficial than what does it, right? Some of you guys are in the medical field, right? People think they want to know. Here's the reality. Like if you're going in for surgery, for example, before you sit down or before you go in and you're under the knife, oftentimes there's a consult, right? Now, during that consult, and this is the craziest thing about the internet now, the surgeon will share, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to put you under. This is that process, and you're going to count backwards. And during that time, we're going to be monitoring you, and we're going to make this incision. We're going to do this. We're going to take out the bad. We're going to fix and put in the good. We're going to sew you all up. You'll come out of anesthesia. You'll wake up in so many hours. It should take this long, et cetera, right? And they try to explain kind of an overview. They're not going to walk you through every single step and every single thing they're doing and every single precaution that they're taking, because that's what they went to medical school for 8 or 12 years. Like that's months of like, I can't explain all that to you because you just don't know, right? People don't care as much about the overall product other than it's going to be this surgery. And when I'm done, I'm going to feel better. Bad is going to be gone. Good is going to be here. Recovery may be necessary, but that's what I want, right? In our market, and what I was saying about the crazy thing about the internet is this is where people come in and they go, oh, well, I think I can, I totally understand. I looked up on WebMD or I Googled this and it says that you should be, and I should be wary of, and are you going to do this? And they start second guessing everything. Your customers oftentimes are going to do the same thing. I was talking with someone earlier today. They're going into the cleaning niche. We have contractors, construction, there's plumbers, there's real estate, there's insurance, there's DJs, we've got, mobile home parks, we have all sorts of different staffing, whatever, financial advisors. They're going to say something like, well, my business is a referral-based business only, or this is how I've always done it, or I looked something up and I think I heard something about this funnel thing, but I could probably figure that out. So you think they've got the information. So what your products do, for the most part, what we do is we solve the hassle. We create a shortcut for them. So we shorten the amount of time it's going to take them. We help them connect better with their customers. We help them follow up better with their customers, and we help raise their conversion percentage. Now you got to think about your industry. Some of your industries may never say conversion percentage, right? They may just say number of appointments. We help increase your number of appointments, new patients, new, oil changes, right? Help you get new whatever, right? You guys speak the language of your audience. And in doing so, you understand who your audience is. So it's product, audience, problem, right? Tired of having nobody in the office, right? Empty appointment books, problems with cash flow, the too much competition, can't stand out from the competition, right? All of these things. And we could create a list that are fairly generic, and every single business has the same issue. It's rarely an issue of too much work. It's rarely a problem of too many customers, too many, that's not what they're dealing with. Okay. They're trying to get more customers to get more cash flow. Almost every business. And once in a while, I have a member say, well, the industry I'm talking about, right now, there's a shortage of workers. And so they're just too busy. I go, that's really short-sighted. Because in the last 50 years, how often has a situation like that really happened? Right? I mean, it's rare. And here's the thing. Any industry that you look at, the top 5 to 10% absolutely are too busy. And they need to hire more employees. They need to hire more staff. Most businesses do not have that problem. Right? Can we all agree? Like, does that make sense? How many of you guys have talked to a business owner and they just go, dude, I'm just tired of so many, I'm getting too many customers. I need to slow down. I got too much work, too much cash flow right now. Like I'm making too much money and it's kind of frustrating me. What I'd really like to do is get rid of some of them. Occasionally you'll talk to someone that says, look, I'm busy. I need to fire or hire some help, right? Absolutely. That happens. But it's the other side that you hear a lot more. So your mission is to provide products, marketing products, et cetera, a solution that helps this industry and solves this problem. Okay? That makes sense? So that's what we do. So when you guys go, well, I'm not sure what we do. What we do is we provide products that teach people how to use social media in the plumbing industry, in the physical personal training industry, in the financial industry, whatever, right? Your niche, so that they can generate more customers, keep their clients happy, and make more money, right? That's what we do. Okay. So mission statements, different variations of that. So there are two, here's something to remember, and this is from a great video. You guys can look up the video from Simon Sinek about the why, right? There are only two ways to influence human behavior. You can manipulate it or you can inspire it. Very few companies can clearly articulate why they do what they do. By why, I mean your purpose, your cause, your belief. Why does your company exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? Why should anyone care? People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. Okay, now we start to get into, this is kind of, for me, this is a blend between the mission and vision. When you think, what kind of content am I putting out? This is where you guys, if you really want to push into it, you can go beyond like, I'm doing this so I can make an extra $1,000 to $10,000 to whatever, $1,000 a month. If you approach it like that, because look, ladies and gentlemen, I make money from my marketing that I do with addiction recovery, that I do with digital marketers. Blake pays me to work with you guys, right? Big surprise. I'm contracted and I get compensated for this. Now, is what I get paid going to be enough to retire on? Hell no. Why do I do this? Because someone helped me. Because if I can help some of you guys, and I would love to help every single one of you, I understand though the reality is that just doesn't quite happen. And so if I can help some of you guys become better in any number of the ways that I go after, right? Like personal growth, relationships, health, business growth, marketing, making money. Like for me, it's all encompassing. So part of my mission, part of my vision is to allow you guys a space that you can learn and grow and understand your own potential, right? That's part of what I'm doing. That's part of what gets me up in the morning. Okay. And some of you guys get that. And so you're here and you're pushing yourselves. Like if I just say, hey, daily call, 20, 30 minutes. If that's the only thing I ever said, the amount of people that would show up would be like next to nothing, right? If Blake said, if the only thing he said is like, hey, I've got a website that'll make you money, and didn't say anything, he'd convert once in a while. But the overall mission, vision, everything else wouldn't be articulated and it wouldn't convert. Same thing with you guys. If the only thing you ever say is, I have a blueprint that teaches you social media, that's the only thing that ever comes out of your mouth, right? It's just like a personal trainer saying, what do you do? Well, I sell 60-minute intense exercise training appointments. Okay. Intense exercise? I don't want that. No. Right? A financial advisor, if they were to say, what do you do? Well, I take a percentage, I take a flat fee or a percentage of everything that you invest, and I ask you difficult questions about money to make sure that you're not in debt and that you're doing what you're supposed to do, kind of like your parents did when you were growing up. That's what I do. What? I don't want to talk. I don't have an uncomfortable conversation about money with anybody. No, leave me alone. Right? Forrest is a DJ. What do you do? Well, I play music in the background when you're having live events so that there's not as much awkward silences. And so people feel a little bit better. Right? Like if that's the only thing that you talk about, no. Right? It's a different, your mission and your vision have to be much deeper than that. Who's on? Krissa, can you post the link to the YouTube channel in there for me? So all of the recordings for some of you guys, if you don't have it, are going to be in there. So it's going to be in the chat there. Now, how do you write the mission statement? What do we do? How do we do it? Who do we do it for? Short sentence, that your purpose or why as a company. Macro, how will you execute? So not necessarily every day I'm posting content, but deliver value to this community, et cetera, right? Identify your target market. You guys, every single one of you should have done that already through the strategy session. We have identified our niche, right? This part should be fairly easy, okay? Here are some examples. And again, you've got these slides. Life is good. Spread the power of optimism. I would make that bigger. Like, who are they doing it with, right? To inspire healthier communities by connecting people to real food. JetBlue wants to inspire humanity both in the air and on the ground. I would love to talk with them about how in the hell they do that. Because I'm always like, okay, if that's your mission, how? So put people at the center of enterprise software. Reinvent how people share knowledge, tell stories, inspire their audiences to act. Right? I'm guessing just by reading that, I'm guessing it has something to do with marketing and software, right? Some type of software platform, right? Tesla. So you've got all these different things here, mission versus vision. Now, we'll get into vision a little bit on Thursday. Again, these slides are available to you guys. I'd recommend going through and looking at some of them, thinking a little bit, how to be concise and clear and, your horizon. So looking off into future-based, doing that, right? So just a little bit about mission. You guys will get into it. Use the slides that are there, please. Take advantage. Don't allow it to get in the way of actually building your business, right? So, but if you become clear, and this is where I talk about clarity all the time, guys, if you can bring clarity to your message and who you are, it becomes that much simpler, right? Like, well, what kind of content I'm putting out? And you go, well, this fits or doesn't fit. Or do I need this? Well, does this fit with my pathway, right? Some of you guys that have coaching and consulting worked in, these products help benefit those people that you're looking to coach or consult with better than just about anything, right? A lot of you guys are like, well, I want to do personal development coaching. Okay, but if I can help entrepreneurs with their business, aren't I also setting them up to better themselves, right? One of the biggest problems any entrepreneur faces is just cash flow. So if I can solve that problem for them, how much more likely are they to talk with me about life, right? You got to look at full picture. Okay. Everybody do some studying today. Great. Now, Chantel, you ready to go? And then we'll Michael right after that. Okay. So we are going to pin, let's see. All right. So we're recording. We are going to, at the end of this, my guy's going to take and edit it up and give it back to you. So if you've got logos and things, please get them to me. Michael, same thing. So, all right. Well, let's see. How can I roll an introduction here? So, all right. Well, I'll just kind of, after speaking with Chantel a couple of times, there's a recognition when I work with people that have spent time and effort and money on themselves in the process of trying to better themselves. And sometimes it is obvious. And sometimes it's obvious to me that people are putting out a lot of lip service. Like, oh yeah, I follow that. Oh yeah, I've done that. And then there are those that I speak with where it's obvious that they've spent the time and it's obviously they put additional thought into it when it comes to themselves. And in doing so, they've then utilized that to try and at different levels help and bless other people's lives. And talking with Chantel, she's one of those people that fits into that category, someone that has spent time learning and growing, and then recognizing that she has it within her to help and bless other people's lives. And so today, in chatting with her, she has this incredible topic to talk about when it comes to kind of breaking through and looking at what someone's capable of, getting over obstacles and different things like that. And so, Chantel, you said you found something that will help people in that regards. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. So I'm a transformational coach. I'm just starting my business, but I've been doing it for years. But it's been a lot of internalizing and working on me so I could feel good. So the way I start is, okay, so we're all hot air balloons. And
before we jump into the hot air balloons, I'm sorry to cut you off, and I want to use that line in a minute, but what pushed you to become a transformational coach? And what is a transformational coach?
So what pushed me was personal growth courses, because I was in a hellish loop, a lot of anger that had become rage, a lot of not sleeping. And when you don't sleep, you're more impatient, you're more reactive. And it's this endless loop of not feeling good. And actually, there was a lot of self-hatred, because when you've got that much anger, it spews onto other people. Mm-hmm. And so you feel like for me, it was like, oh, I'm so evil. That's a pretty strong word, but that's how it felt. So I started personal growth courses, and I would say in the last 25 years, I keep growing and expanding because I went to look at all kinds of resources. Right. And because I'm French Canadian, and then the course I started with was Écoute ton corps, which means listen to your body. An exceptional program. But I had access to Wayne Dyer. I had access to Carolyn Miss. I had access to Tony Robbins. Mm-hmm. And it's all kinds of growth. It's not, I like to generalize and get things from everybody. So my transformational coaching is about, so my company name is NeuroReno. And when you think of renovation, so I have an archetype, it's called the destroyer constructor.
Okay. So what's a destroyer constructor?
And what it does, so an archetype is a cookie cutter form. So if I say bully, everybody understands what it is, although they don't all look the same, the patterns are the same. So that's what an archetype is. And mine is constructor, or destroyed constructor.
Okay.
Until I read the book, which is called Sacred Contracts, I only saw the destructor. So it was not very beneficial to me. Mm-hmm. But when I read about the destroyer constructor, what it does is that I'm the type of person that takes something, takes it apart to construct something better.
Okay.
To improve, to expand, so I just figured out this week, oh my God, NeuroReno. That even goes with the name I chose for my company. And renovating, and it's neurons. So it's working with our brain. Mm-hmm. And it's renovating, realigning, readjusting. It's all the whatever you can think of in a renovation.
So when it comes to neuro renovation like that, what's one of like the, these, you kind of talked about those things that tether us in place so that we're unable to rise. And you were talking about being a hot air balloon. So explain that idea to me of how we're hot air balloons and how we can remove some of those tethers from us.
Okay. So the one part is that, so my symbol or logo is a tree with roots around a globe. And the base of it, the roots are spiritual.
Okay.
I believe that as human beings, we are spiritual first, and we are meant to come here to experience all kinds of things without judgment, without shame, without guilt.
Sure.
And we are meant to rise. We are meant to expand. We are meant to grow and to just feel the passion and feel that bliss and get excited about things and laugh and like children. But because of the way we're set up, the way the brain is set up, which is brilliant, it is meant to protect and to waste the least amount of energy. So as children, what happens is that we create patterns in ourselves because we don't know how to deal with the things, the fears. So we create, I call them sidekicks. We create these parts of ourselves so that we better deal with the world. So I was working with a client this morning, and hers was, I freeze, I paralyze, I doubt myself. And it's like, well, yeah, the sidekick is telling you, oh, you're going to fail. So she's telling me all this. I'm not coming up with it. I am going to fail if I step forward.
Right.
So it's kind of like, okay, well, how do we rearrange things? Because our brain will just go to the path of least resistance. If that is our pattern, the brain has installed it. And that's why it's so hard to change habits. Right. Because it is the path of least resistance. And that's the brain part. Right. So it's kind of like reorganizing the brain. So one of the strategies I use is laughter. Because laughter is what I have discovered the fastest, most efficient shifter. It completely shifts what happens in our brain in terms of the chemicals that are released. So it changes our physicality. It changes how we feel when we laugh. So I came up with these strategies. So the first one is rule number 5. And rule number 5 is actually kind of like a joke. So I'll shorten it up. It's a CEO and a CEO meeting together. And every time somebody comes in, they've got some complaint. And it's like, oh, people are incompetent. I can't do my job. Or it's like, oh, I am incompetent. I can't do this. I have to quit. I don't understand it. So it's all these people coming in to complain. And every time the COO says, Harry, remember rule number 5. Janine, remember rule number 5. And finally, the CEO says, I don't get it. They come in, they're upset for some reason or another. I said, all you say is to them, remember rule number 5. And they all go, oh, that's right. Thanks, boss. And they leave. What is rule number 5? And he says, it's quite simple. He says, don't take yourself so goddamn seriously. And he says, that's it? Well, what are the other 4 rules? And he says, there are none. So to me, it's like, okay, I got it. So what I do is as soon as a thought comes in that puts me off track, where it really takes me off my alignment, whereas where I fly, I tell myself, Chantel, remember rule number 5. And then I laugh because life is like a stage. It's a comedy. It really is. Things happen. And it's like, if you take things so seriously, it bogs you down.
Yeah. Too often we just deal with every single thing that's happening in our daily life as if it's life changing. And most of them, and if you just let it slide off with a joke, would last for 5 minutes.
Well, the thing is that when we get bogged down, it's because we are not even in contact with who we are anymore at all. We're into the mind, like cluster,
Yeah, there's you built up so many walls and so many different projections of who you are in different scenarios. It's hard to find yourself. So self-awareness is huge. So awesome. So ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself or just tell yourself, don't take yourself so seriously. Recognize how simple life can be if you let it. So Awesome. All right.
Can I just add one little thing?
Yes, absolutely.
It's called Eddie's Python, and it's Eddie Murphy and Monty Python. And because I've had this fear of being silly, and I said, well, you have to be silly to laugh. So I came up with Eddie's Python.
I don't know how often during the day I want to be thinking about Eddie's Python. I mean, there's different elements of different acts I could think of that would make me laugh. Then again, I mean, so ladies and gentlemen, that's what you all will think of now when it's a time to laugh is Eddie's Python. Just don't
it's Eddie
vocalize
Murphy's
that.
laugh.
Don't
So it's Eddie Murphy's laugh. And the Python is Monty Python. I fart in your general direction. You cannot keep a straight face.
No, anything with Monty Python. And really, guys, if you think about that, just a word of caution: don't vocalize to everybody that you're thinking about Eddie's Python on a continued basis. Your significant other might look at you funny. So, or Monty's Murphy. Yeah, there you go. Little alliteration. Okay, so awesome, Chantel. Thank you so much, everybody. A round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love that. So I'll have my guy edit that up and make sure to include the last little clip. So, Michael, you ready for about 5 minutes?
Yeah, 5 minutes.
Awesome. Okay, Chantel, thank you. Get me logos and stuff. You're awesome. Appreciate that. Okay, let me get Michael down here. Okay, now. All right, Michael. Let me pull up your stuff again.
Hey, Andrew.
Yes. Who's talking?
Chantel give her website?
Yeah, Chantel, if you want to type in, if you've got your coaching kind of website there, that would be awesome.
Thank you.
I don't have anything yet. I'm starting my business.
Then connect with her on social media.
Yes,
Facebook,
I'm on Skype.
You're on what?
No, I don't. No, I'm like really starting from scratch. I will be putting stuff up, but there's nothing in it yet. So
okay, so that is your call to action to tell over the course of the next couple of days. Get some people that would be interested in your thoughts on a continued basis. So let's get it out there, right? Believe in yourself enough to get it out there. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce Michael Jansen. Now, Michael's been around for a little bit on these calls. He's consistent. He's here. He's a gentleman that's been in the financial industry for years, but he's also been, neck deep in philanthropy and in charities and in a number of different organizations. If I'm going to work with someone in either one of those industries, consistency is one of those things that I want. Someone that is not just willing to work on themselves, but does it in a manner where it is refreshing to me when there's someone that's actually serious about helping others. And that's Michael. In talking with him, I still remember on our one-on-one, and over and over and over again, I've gotten messages from him where, where he's willing to not just express gratitude, but also the frustration that he's had as he's worked on himself. And this overarching desire to help others. And ultimately, that's why he's here. So when you look at your vision, your mission, and everything else, that's an example to follow. So when I offered to allow people to come on and speak, Michael was one of those guys that stepped up and said, you know what, there's something that I want to talk about. There's something that is important to me. So we talked about we have financial smarts, but what I'd like to know a little bit about is something that he mentioned. So Michael, I want to hear a little bit about Supercharged Philanthropy. And what that means to you and what the rest of us can look at, especially in this day and age, what's out there. So first off, tell me a little bit about how you got into philanthropy.
Okay. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you're good. Good.
Thanks for the intro, Andrew. I don't think I need to say any more. My session's done.
All right. We'll wrap that up and send it on the way.
Well,
so how'd you get into, because you've worked with a number of charities, like what kind of charities have you worked with? And then let us know how you got into it.
Would you like the names or the fields? These
a little of both.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to drop some names, go for it.
I mean, I'll do that so people understand where I was. I started with a small college in Iowa, which is my alma mater. It's a Catholic university. It's been around for, 141 years now. And they gave me an opportunity to work with them first as a volunteer when I was in the financial field. And then I loved what I was doing so much as a volunteer that 4 years later, an opening came. And I thought they're looking for someone much older because I was like 30 years old at the time. And the president said, no, we're looking for someone who's going to be here a while. So it was a tremendous experience. I was able to work at the ground level, build a program, worked with tremendous advisors from the University of Notre Dame, showing me how they did theirs and how we could duplicate what they were doing at our school. After 12 years I was there, I made some tremendous friends and wonderful people. The most wonderful people in the world are those who want to serve others, those who want to remember others, those who want to do something for others. And I'll just quickly give you a story where I worked with this one widow. She came forward several years after I was there, and we didn't know who she was. And she gave us a check for $15,000. It was for our art gallery for this particular artist that we were honoring that used to be on the staff, on the faculty there. So I got a chance to meet her, and she is really the typical, what we would call the millionaire next door. For any of those that have read that book, it's these people that live modest lives and they kind of keep to themselves. They drive, used American cars, but they're worth well over $1 million. Right. And you look at her background, she did not have a high paying job. She was a widow, as I said, so her husband was a bus driver. She was a clerk, but they always put money away every payday, and they put it in 3 securities that were blue chip securities that ballooned over the years, and it just grew tremendously. So she wanted to start doing something. So we talked to her about other methods that she could do to help our work. We asked her what it is she wanted to support. And she really wanted to support scholarships because she and her husband could not go to college and they didn't have the money, but she wanted to help young people go to college. So we got a chance to get a scholarship set up. It was just doing tremendous things during her lifetime. We'd bring her letters and pictures of students who were receiving this assistance, and she would cry. I mean, she would cry when I would visit with her, and that always stuck with me. And when she did get called home after many years, I went to her funeral, and to this day, I think of her daily and for what she did. And this is at this little college in Iowa. Right. But after 12 years, I wanted to get to a bigger stage. So I eventually went to the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, one of the Big Ten schools. And then it was just like the next level up. I worked with, my boss was an author and a consultant, and I knew about what he did in his work for many years. So I'm working with him. I'm like, oh, what an opportunity. And the thing about Illinois is that they're one of the first public universities in the nation to have a foundation. Because most public universities, we're getting tax dollars, so just let it go. We'll get them enough money. But they saw the need to go beyond that. And boy, today it's really keeping them at a level that they need to be, because the state of Illinois is really in sad shape financially. And as a result of that, I've always wanted to go south. I've lived in the upper Midwest all my life at that time. Right. And the University of Texas in Austin here came calling because they really liked what Illinois was doing. In fact, the president at the University of Texas came from Illinois. So I thought, what a great opportunity to go south, get away from this winter, get away from the snow. Mm-hmm. So I came to Austin. And the thing about Texas that was also unique was that it was the highest endowed public university system in the United States. At that time, it was about 16 billion. I think it's tripled since then. So again, they didn't see a need to do a lot of development until recent years. And that's when they wanted me to come down and help build the program and eventually become the director of that. And it was a great experience. And it was like, wow, I'm at that university that everyone knows, the Hookham, the Longhorns and all that. But I started getting a little disillusioned because they wanted somebody with a law degree to really head up the program after my boss had hired me, went on to Emory in Atlanta. So they hired an attorney. I was okay with that. I mean, that's what they want. But we're always at loggerheads regarding how to run the department. She did not have the background I did. She was more of a funder, where I was the one that was out asking for funds. And right. She didn't like asking for funds. Well, that's our job. And that's what we do at UT. So I went on from there to the Alzheimer's Association. American Red Cross, to another university, Texas State University, which wasn't quite at the level of the others. And then I got on with the American Heart Association, which was tremendous. Not a university, but a well-known healthcare organization that really had this kind of fundraising down pat. And I was working with really good people in that.
Let me ask you something. We'll talk about Supercharged Philanthropy. We live in a day and age where there are charitable organizations everywhere.
Yes.
Right? Any type of cause that you can think of, it's out there. And then with the advent of the internet, with the 24-hour news cycle, we learn of things everywhere that are happening, and then the demand for and need for funds to help people out. If you could give me two big things, just two, when it's time for me to put out some money to help, to make a donation to a charity, what are two things that I should look for to make sure that it's a credible charity, that funds are actually going to the people that need it versus, 30 different layers of management?
There are two sources that you could go to. One is GuideStar. That's a good organization that rates charitable organizations. Another is if you can get you all have to file a 990 with the IRS for those that like to look at tax forms, I guess, or have someone look at it. But the GuideStar organizations, guidestar.org, there's no charge. You can find virtually any charity you want, and it'll help summarize what is on the 990. Now, I kind of bristle a little bit when I hear about people saying, well, I don't want them spending all my money on overhead. There was a great video that came out from someone who's not in charitable organizations, but is an entrepreneur. And he said that's one thing that has destroyed most charities, is because they're afraid of spending money on overhead. And overhead could cover everything. And it's kind of a death knell when you hear that word. It's like, what is it? Don't pay these big salaries. Don't hire all these people. Well, they need to do that. Well, why is a for-profit organization praised when they have all the best people that you can hire, but that charity down the work that does work that really means a lot to you is not allowed to hire the best people they can find to help further their mission?
So what's the difference? Because there is, and I fully see the need to have, some management in place, to have people that are running it that know what the hell they're doing.
Yes.
At the same time, we've got because there's so many organizations out there, as part of the point I'm trying to make is that, between the internet and everything else, all of a sudden there's this charity coming up. So I can look at certain things and go, yeah, there is actually money coming in, versus they don't know what the hell they're doing, and it's just caught up and being spent. And that's kind of what I mean, right? Because we know there's those that, yes, they've got, and they pay for talent, but still there's stuff going on. And then there's those that, say they're talented and are just taking money, is what I mean.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those. I agree. I mean, we hear about them, and those are the ones that make the news. You just have to be really careful. You got to look at, check their website, look at the website, check GuideStar, see what it says about them, and look at their mission. You talk about mission statement. What do they do? Does that work with what you want to do, with what you want to support, with the legacy that you want to establish? Can they help further that legacy when it comes to whether it's education, whether it's healthcare, whether it's a faith-based organization, any number of them. But they all have to have a 501c3 status with the IRS. Now, the IRS doesn't pass judgment on whether or not that's a worthy organization. They just want to make sure that the funds are going to be used according to IRS guidelines that will support the mission of the organization. But it's really up to you to decide, is that an organization I want to support? Maybe Google them as far as any stories that have come out about them. Has their CEO been indicted on something? I know of some that were very well known. I think it was a Baptist organization out of Arizona some years back. They got caught in a lot of scandal. I mean, a Baptist organization, but anyone can be subject to that kind of a temptation to appropriate funds.
Yeah. So the point is, ladies and gentlemen, take responsibility to do some research.
Research,
right? Verify before you just jump in.
Make sure they've been around a while, for one thing too. Yeah.
So what would, when you say, and I just want to take a couple more minutes, I appreciate everybody's patience with this, and I hope you guys are finding this as interesting as I am. When you say supercharged philanthropy, what does that mean to you?
Well, my whole approach has been, don't write a check. My gosh, the check is the worst thing you can do. Charity loves it because it's easy to deal with. But liquidity, cash on hand that you have, that's what you buy groceries with. That's what you pay your bills with. That's what you invest with. Don't give that away. I mean, there's cases you do because it's not going to be a lot of money. But I always ask people, don't give from income, but give from assets. And of course, you have to have something if you've built an asset or an estate. And that's where my financial smarts comes in, is to help people get to that point. But once they get to the point where they have an investment portfolio, they have real estate, they have something they no longer need, and they can sell it or give it to charity, the tax benefits on those is just tremendous. You write a check for $1,000, that costs you $1,000. But if you give some property or some securities that have grown in value, your $1,000 gift is a small fraction of that. And that's what the wealthier people do. I mean, that's what the Bill Gates and the Warren Buffetts do. When they fund their foundations, they're not writing checks. They're transferring assets to those foundations that they paid almost nothing for, that is worth a lot today. And there's tremendous tax benefits to doing something like that. Yeah. I was listening to someone recently, well-known motivational speaker, and he was talking about, he went to this dinner and he wrote a check that night for $500,000. And I go, oh no, don't tell me you really did that, because he's showing all this wealth he has. How about some of that property you own or something like? There's all kinds of ways you can give without writing a check. It takes a little work, a little effort, and that's what I do. And I actually have to, educate advisors on this constantly. I got to tell
them how to do it and do it appropriately. So, I think what I'm going to be doing, guys, and Michael, thank you so much. I appreciate.
Thank you.
So we'll get this edited up and get it to you. And guys, I think if you listen to it, I think part of this is understanding. Take responsibility for yourself. Put yourself in a position that you can do more for others, because there's desperately a need out there. But be smart about doing it. And sometimes that requires someone like Michael to step in with some additional guidance, and learning that. So I think Michael and some others, I'll start to look at guys that are generating, looking at, tax strategies, wealth strategies, all sorts of different things, without trying to sell you guys something, just actual credit, all of these, insurance, life insurance in the right way, that can be used as an investment versus, like, there's so many different things that they do that, on the flip side, you get, there's a lot of different philosophies in this world. And so when we start walking down these roads with different elements, guys, I know not everyone's going to agree with it, and that's okay. But what I want to give you guys is different places that you can look to continue to build out that foundation, and financial knowledge is absolutely one of the things that you need, that all of us need, is to get better with, right? And I'm sure, Michael, and we have some others, decades in this financial field. I'm sure he's learning stuff consistently all the time, especially as the world kind of transforms what it's doing with fiat currencies and this blockchain and DeFi and all of these other things. When we start adding it all up, there's always something to learn, guys, always something to learn. So on that note, everybody, round of applause for Michael. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming on and sharing some with us. Guys, I'm going to have a couple of you guys on Thursday. Please make sure that I will be reaching out to you so that you're ready. Thank you, Chantel and Michael, so much for sharing some information with us today. Guys, don't miss tomorrow's call. I promise you will enjoy Michael. I promise. His name is Michael too. So Michael Faber is Unleash You, is his book. I'll let him, get the link for that tomorrow, but just a cool guy. You really want to hear, and we'll dive into kind of that mission, that vision, and putting yourself out there, and putting yourself out there when you don't think that it's, something you're ready to do. So super excited to work with him. So on that note, guys, go out, be awesome, take responsibilities for yourself, But
sometimes
at the same time, don't
people
take yourself
have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it.
awesome day.
Just go forward.
Take care, guys.
Thank you, Andrew.
How do you stand out? But what you need to do is be that
Thank
person
you,
that's
Michael.
different
And it's bigger
Thank
than
you.
you think.
Thank you all.
Rise from the ashes
Appreciate
and
it.
fly like
Thanks.
the phoenixes that you are.